This short video will show you the basics of how to create a figure using collage. Paper collages are created by cutting out the parts you would want out of a whole range of different pieces of paper. Here I'm about to create the head of my figure. I find a piece of paper that will do the job, size and color-wise and even texture-wise. And then have a look at the size I need to cut out. I turn the paper over and draw my shape. With sharp scissors, carefully cut the shape out. By drawing on the back of the paper, it won't matter if you make a mistake because nobody will see it. You can correct your mistakes and cut on the correct lines. There we go. Here I'm about to start the features of the face. Using this small piece of black paper, which is a great size for small pieces, I don't need to use a big piece of paper for this, I draw in the eyebrows. These are really tiny, so it is tricky to cut these very tiny things out. Take your time. Remember to use a bubble cut around tricky or tiny shapes before you cut them more accurately. There's the first eyebrow and the second eyebrow. We are building the face. Now I'm going to start on the coloured part of the eyes. Because I'm making such a small sample, I'm going to be very simple and just cut it out of one colour, cutting two small circles. If you were making a collage of just the face and it was much bigger, you would obviously then put more detail into the eye by doing the white section of the eye and the coloured sections as well as the pupil. Maybe even putting that light spot into the pupil. My one eye is slightly smaller than the other. That makes it look like I'm kind of winking the one eye a little bit. And that's fine. Here is a colour I found for the mouth. I'm not going to cut the mouth out of the centre of such a large piece, so I'm working right on the edge, leaving plenty left over for somebody else to use after I'm done with this particular piece of paper. There is the mouth. Here I'm moving on to the hair. Choose a texture paper or a colour that is suited to the hair colour that you have or the hair colour of the figure you are making a collage of. Look carefully at your drawing or the photograph to get the right shape and size of the hairstyle and carefully cut it out. This figure's hair is made up of 3 different parts, but I've just drawn it all together in one to make it easier to cut out. This way the little pieces won't get lost that easily. If you are doing a larger collage with larger pieces, it would look better if you did them separately. You can also do them out of 2 or 3 different coloured pieces of paper. Maybe looking at the lighter and darker colours in your hair and adding some interest to it. Here I'm placing that over the top of the head to make sure it fits. There we go. And now it's time for the clothes. Here I'm taking a look at the shape of the shirt, and I'm not worrying about making the line or the top of the t-shirt dip by the chin because I know that I can paste the face over that. So a simple arc will do. Draw the sleeves and the body of the t-shirt and carefully cut it out. It does not need to be identical to your drawing. You might find you make small adjustments. You might find you make a little mistake and it even turns out differently. That's fine. Nothing has to be identical to your plan. We learn as we go. Remember your cutting skills, cutting into triangles. In order to get a sharp corner, you don't turn the scissors inside of an angle. Here we go. We take the little face and we pop it over the front, pop the hair back on, and there's our little person. Now it's time for the little shorts. Looking carefully again at the drawing, and if this was larger, you could put more detail in. Maybe you get a second colour to put the little stripes on the side of the shorts or on the sleeves and the bottom of the t-shirt. The size of what you're making determines how much detail you can include. It's quite difficult to cut small pieces. Keep your offcuts separate and away from the pieces you need so you don't get too muddled up. And here are the little shorts. Now let's go back to that skin color paper again. We need to try and make all the skin that is seen on the body the same piece of paper for continuity. So the face, the arms, the legs, all made from the same piece of paper. Draw the arm and the hand, and again a little bubble cut around the fingers is fine. If you're working with larger pieces, it's easier to cut the detail. Time for the second arm now. This one is a bent arm. Again, watch how I draw it right on the edge of that piece of paper. That way there's less cutting for me to do. And also I leave more of the paper whole to use for other things. Again, a bubble cut around those fingers for now. And arm number 2. Now we start on the legs. So here is the first leg, looking carefully at the angle of the bend, quickly cutting that out before drawing the second one. I've chosen this light green for the shoes. And again, you see how I place the paper next to the object from my plan to try and get as close to the shape and size as I can. And then we cut these out too. Now we're going to glue all the different pieces together. With lightweight paper collage, a dry glue stick is perfectly fine for gluing all the pieces together as long as you get enough glue on there. For heavier card, it's usually a good idea to use the white glue, the liquid glue, with the spreader to make sure you cover all parts of the paper that you're gluing together. So here you can see I've put glue on the face and not on the tiny pieces. On the face, and then I placed those small pieces on there and used the tip of something like the pair of scissors to guide those little tiny pieces into place. It's easier to make small adjustments with something that is thin as opposed to your fingers, which can get very gluey. Here we're putting on the hair. Take care that you don't glue your pieces to the table. With younger students, or if you prefer the same thing, we could actually be gluing these items straight onto the plan that you can see underneath. That way you have a surface underneath that can hold all the pieces rather than trying to work with them separately. The advantage of using the dry glue stick is that it dries a lot quicker. The disadvantage is that it's not as strong at holding your work together, so you do need to be careful with it. The wet glue, however, will wet your work and maybe even make holes in your paper if you use too much of it. But it will dry really well. Here I'm starting to add the extra details. So this little person is a soccer player, and as you can see I'm creating the little soccer ball. And of course, when you have finished, you do need to pack away all the equipment that you have used in its correct place so other people can find it, and make sure it's all been cleaned up and your workspace wiped clean.